For many ESL teachers, one of the hardest things about roleplay is coming up with good scenarios. But it's not as hard as you'd think. With the right mindset and targets, you can start coming up with your own scenarios in no time. I'm Will from Enchanted ESL, and I use roleplay all the time in my lessons. Over the years, I've come up with hundreds of different scenarios. Some of them went brilliantly, others not so much. From that experience, I've distilled the creation into a simple process that you can adapt for your students' needs. Before starting, it's worth pointing out that you can't focus on specific language in a roleplay. By its very nature, roleplay is about spontaneous speaking, not structured repetition. If you're not clear what roleplay entails in the English classroom, check out the video I made explaining why it's so great. It's up there and down in the description. The first step in the process is to identify our students' needs. This isn't too hard. It starts with knowing what topic to focus on. This may be what they're studying in their textbooks at the moment, or you may want to focus the class on a particular theme. The topic could be anything, and in our examples we're going to be using the topic of transport. You can get quite specific with this as well. Let's say our students are learning about public transport and train times. Next, you should consider their ability and maturity. A scenario that works with 10-year-old beginners might not be appropriate for advanced adults. In fact, in this video we're going to take those two groups and make a scenario for each of them. Now we've got a topic and the right level to pitch it at, we can start thinking of a situation to put our students in. There are a few kinds of situations. The first is conflict, where student roles have different aims. They can be a lot of fun, but often turn into shouting matches. They're best with students who you can trust to be considerate and not too competitive. You may think that means only do them with adults and not with children, but I found that a lot of children do a lot better with this kind of scenario than some adults. The second is collaborative. Everybody has the same problem and works as a team to solve it. They might bring different perspectives and skills. These are great for fostering teamwork, but often go short because students just agree on something very quickly. The third is transactional. One person wants something, the other person has that thing. The discussion comes from the first person trying to explain exactly what they need, and then the provider trying to think of a solution. Typical examples are somebody buying something from a shop, or giving directions. The fourth type is experiential. These are pretty freeform and students just go around in an imaginary world and interact with things. For example, they go to the zoo. They wander about and see all the animals and have a good time. These four are by no means the only kinds of situations, but they are the most common ones to base your scenarios on. And it's important to use a variety of different types of scenario. Some students will enjoy certain ones over the others, but you need to keep it fresh. If they're all conflict or all collaboration, it gets boring quite quickly. All of your scenarios should have 2 key roles and 1 optional role. This is because roleplay is best done in pairs. Of course, if you have an odd number of students, sometimes you'll need a 3, and that's where the third optional role comes in. If you want to absolutely push the limits, you could have 4 roles, but I would avoid it and definitely don't go over 4. If you have a big group, just split them up into pairs or the occasional 3. The 2 key role descriptions are the most important, and they need to describe 3 things: who the person is, where they are, and what they want. For example, student A. You are on holiday at a train station and you missed your train. Talk to someone in the station to get another train. Student B, you work at a ticket office at a train station. Help student A find a train that will get them to their destination and tell them how much it costs. These are short role descriptions that give just about enough information, but not so much that it hampers improvisation. This example would be a transactional situation and would likely involve lots of conversation about times and prices. However, not all role descriptions need to explicitly state who, where, and what you want. Those things might be implied. For example, this one in a restaurant. You are at a restaurant. You ordered some soup, but there's a fly in it. It's obvious from the description that the role is the customer and what they want is the soup to be changed. Alright, let's go back to the train station example. How this plays out depends on your particular students. It's very possible student A will go up to student B, ask for the first available train, pay for it, and then that's the end. Ideally though, students would build in some mini problems along the way. For example, the next train is too expensive, or it arrives at the destination too late. Good role players will improvise these kind of developments. Not everybody is ready for this though, so it's a good idea to have some developments in mind that you can insert at an appropriate time. You could go as far as giving student B a list of times and prices for all of the available trains. Some of them might be way too expensive or take ages, and through discussion, student A can find the best train for them. Obviously, in this case, don't let student A see the list of times and trains, otherwise there won't be any conversation. And of course, you need to think about the third optional role. This is usually supplementary. It adds a bit to the scenario but doesn't change the dynamic significantly. For example, student C. You are travelling with student A and you also missed the train, but you don't have enough money to buy a new ticket. If you're finding this video useful, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. Thanks. So far, our scenario has all the nuts and bolts in place. I think it would be a pretty good option for an advanced adult group, especially with all that discussion of times and money. However, it wouldn't be great for lower level kids. So let's change that. We're going to make it more exciting and easier to approach. You could do this with all abilities and ages, but you really need to do it with younger learners. This time, the students have still missed the train, but instead of getting another train, they have to find a way to quickly get to the next station. What transport can they use to get there before the train does? Student A, you missed an important train. You need to catch it at the next station. Find a way to get there quickly. Student B, you are a local person outside the train station. Help student A find a route to the next station along. You can also be someone who drives a taxi, a tram, or a helicopter, or whatever vehicle they decide to take. And the optional student C could be another passenger or someone who drives one of the vehicles. In this situation, some students are playing multiple roles, and that's fine. They can be flexible and do what they enjoy most. This scenario is a lot of fun because students will go about it with urgency. Good role players will improvise complications like a road closed or the bus not going in the right route. But as always, it's worth thinking about a few developments that you can insert. Or you could print out a multi-step pathway to give to student B so they can explain to student A how they can get there quickly. Like first get a tram to the town centre, then a bus to the high street, and finally a taxi to the entrance of the station. You may be thinking this scenario just wouldn't work with your students. And you're probably right. And well done to you, because that means you know your students really well. The main point is you should adapt scenarios to the needs and preferences of your students. The race to the next station would work fantastically with some of my groups, but I wouldn't dream of using it with others. So you should create scenarios with your specific students in mind. Or adapt pre-made situations. I've spent a lot of time scouring the internet for inspiration and then coming up with my own versions of what I find. To be honest, most scenarios I find on the internet are really boring and overstructured. So if you're looking for engaging and usable ones, you should definitely sign up to the Enchanted ESL monthly newsletter. There you'll immediately get access to my ebook of 15 roleplay scenarios, and every month I'll send you more about a particular topic. I've already done music, celebration, sports, health, and a bunch of other things. So head to enchantedesl.com/sign up to get your hands on all that, plus a whole load of other great free resources. And when you do the role plays in class, you'll want to avoid some of the common mistakes that could turn them into a disaster. Find out what those mistakes are and how to avoid them in this video right here. But for now, I've been Will from Enchanted ESL, wishing you all the joy and success in your teaching. See ya!